continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
A very good morning to you as you join us on Razep Africa this beautiful, beautiful day. I mean, some of us enjoyed the weekend and we're happy to be back. Now we will start with an African news update. Afterwards, we have an interview where we'll be discussing rethinking inclusive growth across Africa, speaking about the informal and underserved communities. How can we ensure inclusive growth? But first, let's go to the news update. And in the studio with me, I have Simbiat Amzat, a correspondent with Razep Africa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
Now, Simbiat has been behind the scenes a lot today. We are pulling her into the studio to have these conversations of updates across Africa. We'll get straight to Nigeria, where trade figures show a sharp shift in relations with the United States. U.S. exports to Nigeria jumped to 60% in the first 10 months of 2025, as Washington recorded a $1.4 billion trade surplus with Africa's largest economy. Data now from the U.S. Census Bureau shows that exports to Nigeria rose to nearly $6 billion, while imports from Nigeria fell. And I mean, that has to be noted. Imports from Nigeria fell, but America export rose. The reversal marks a turnaround from last year's deficit and comes amid tighter global trade conditions under new U.S. tariff policies. Analysts say the figures reflect changing trade flows, though they also point to declining Nigerian export as a key factor behind the widening U.S. surplus. So this is it. We are having more exports, 60%, nearly $6 billion exports from Nigeria alone. I need this to sink in. So, I mean, when we talk about how the kind of derogatory messages that sometimes come from Washington towards Nigeria, it is outrightly annoying to hear. But here we are, imports from Nigeria, imports from Nigeria fell. However, we are recording surplus exports to the United States. How does that make you feel, considering we keep talking about local content in country?
Okay, so my own question is that what's causing the switch? Is it that we Nigerians, we are buying more things from the US, or because it's not usually like that? So at this point, what could we say that is causing the switch?
Of course, we are buying more. It's what it obviously means. It means that we have a lot of money, and we keep having this conversation over and over, where we discuss how we don't look inward for the kind of products from our countries
for us to export.
Exactly, to also export. A lot of people would blame it on standards. We don't believe in the Nigerian standard.
Because even Nigerians, we would rather prefer to buy products from America or other countries that to buy made in Nigeria products. So that's maybe one of the reasons why imports we're having this kind of figures, which is not supposed to be so.
It's almost very annoying to have this conversation because we are struggling as a country to grow our naira and get it to that level where we are proud. We are proud of our naira. The naira is at par with several other foreign currencies. And the only way we can do that, I mean, you don't have to be an expert to know, is that we absolutely need to have productivity in country. We need to patronize ourselves and then start exporting, right? And then start exporting. Let us, but a lot of this, if you go into the story, a lot of this imports or rather U.S. exports to Nigeria, a lot of it is in cars, is in vehicles, is in wine, and because if you know how much alcoholic beverages are sent to Nigeria, it is a lot. For $1.4 billion trade surplus, $1.4 billion trade surplus, and I keep asking myself for a second there, if we had looked inwards and done this in our country, and we had plants, vibrant manufacturing plants that are making sure that we have vehicles for our roads. Because mind you, a lot of these vehicles aren't even tailored to our own Nigerian roads and the Nigerian needs, really.
But there should even also be a sensitization for people to know that made in Nigeria products are actually good and they are not as substandard as we used to think they are. So maybe when there's that kind of sensitization, people would tune into patronizing more Nigerian brands rather than having to tilt towards the foreign products.
Well, I mean, when it comes to every other thing, you don't need sensitization. The vibrant sectors like entertainment, for instance, how many sensitization did you hear before you start listening to Nigerian music or dancing to it or watching Nollywood, for instance? You don't need sensitization. Something is not right and we have not addressed it. And one of it is standards. When it comes to the need for standards in manufacturing, the entertainment industry is making us proud. Our fabrics, there was this time we didn't need to advertise in country for local patronage, right?
Batiks,
but all of a sudden, because we embraced our local fabrics, we saw international stars. We saw the Beyoncés, we saw Rihanna's, we saw everyone rocking Adire and Ankara. We were proud that we did that. It's because our Nollywood made it look beautiful. It's because our the music industry is because we have shown proudly what we have. So I think it has to also come into the manufacturing industry as well, so that we could have us also enjoy even if a bit of all this from in-country trade and across Africa trade in $1.4 billion trade surplus. Imagine it. I won't even have a problem if it was within the continent.
Well, that's a lot. We hope that by this time next year, when these figures are out, we are going to see a massive improvement than it is now.
Exactly, and not the United States that doesn't seem to even respect the African markets. It seems with their trade tariff hikes and stiff access and visa problems, you ask yourself, is it really worth it? But then you will always go where it is necessary. Moving away from that and still talking trade, of course, from trade to humanitarian this time, Mozambique is battling catastrophic floods across hundreds of thousands. More than 640,000 people have been impacted by severe flood across the country, with Gaza province worst hit. The entire communities have been submerged, forcing families into emergency shelters as fear of hunger and disease continue to grow. Now, aid agencies say that crops have been destroyed and access to clean water remains limited. Rescue efforts are ongoing with regional and international partners assisting. But officials warn that this situation could worsen as heavy rains continue across that part of southern Africa. That right there is very concerning that we are recording this. And I had a conversation coincidentally just before I came into the studio right here, where we discussed the consequences of ignoring climate change. It is very, very sad that African governments have not put the much effort. Again, it's beautiful, because maybe if we do face this, we will now be more serious.
But natural disasters happen yearly, so it's not that this is new. So I feel like before the year comes in, and then you already know that, okay, there's going to be this kind of rain, measures should have been put in place to avoid this kind of flooding, this level of flooding. But it's sad that we still have reports like this: 640,000 people displaced.
You know, I struggle with digits. I struggle with digits when I had 640,000. But yeah, but that's a lot of people that are now having to be displaced.
Families losing their homes, crops destroyed, and even their entire source of livelihood is being taken away from them, from something that could have been avoided before now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when you attend a conference of partners, that's the COP, where climate issues are often addressed. You hear Africans, the global South, really, the entire global South, coming to say, we are suffering the consequences of what the global North is doing. We don't have, if you go around Africa, you will see shrubs, as you can see there. There are trees that are planted. In other parts of the world, it's industrial factories, industries that have grown. So if you put the global North and South side by side to say, who is causing all of this, you cannot really point to Africa. And you're right when you say that these warnings come even in Nigeria. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency consistently at the beginning of every year gives us these projections. These are states that will be susceptible to flood, to drought. So we know, but what do we do in mitigating? And that's why climate conversations are very important. Let's have these climate conversations. Let us know how in your little space you are not clogging waterways, draining system. Let us have better ways of recycling plastics, because plastics are a huge issue. Exactly. I mean, we were talking about the other day. Somebody say, bring back our harmattan. Several years ago, even last year by this time, we experienced the harmattan season. It's colder, it's dry, and all of that. But it's raining across some parts of Nigeria. It's already raining. In fact, I was in Port Harcourt around December. And it was raining cats and dogs. I could not believe it. So yeah, we are all experiencing
So I read that in Mozambique, rescue efforts are already ongoing. But then because of it is a natural disaster, the more they are trying to rescue, the more the rain keeps falling. So it's just like the efforts
one step forward and two steps
the efforts
backward.
Are not being seen. And I think that is the price they have to pay for not following the climate reports that have been going on.
Which government across Africa would you say have been okay? I mean, in some states, Lagos State is doing a fantastic job in reducing waste, plastic waste, in introducing innovations. Because one thing we must really, honestly, really address is the fact that it's absolutely not just about saying, oh, stop falling trees. Hey, desertification is a problem for us. Stop doing that. It's one thing to say, stop falling trees, but what alternative are you giving the woman who has always known to use charcoal? What alternatives are there? So I applaud Lagos State because they are
affordable alternatives, by the way.
Affordable, exactly.
They should switch to gas.
I mean, there are alternatives, but are they affordable? You're very right.
Affordable alternatives.
You're very right. Are they affordable? So that's the conversation that we must have, and it's very important that governments across the world, and by the way, we have affordable alternatives that governments can just champion. And you will find out at the end of the day that when you do champion this, it's not for one person's benefit, it's for the entire globe, it's for the entire part of the environment. I saw a video, maybe one of these days we'll play it here on Razep Africa show, where hypothetically speaking, of course they used AI to see how we could have a world without human beings.
Oh wow, that would be interesting to see.
A world without human beings, how animals were running wild, the ones that were going extinct, of course, got their population back, how the environment revived. There were several, I mean, when the world was shut down.
Is it to say that
man is the problem?
Oh, wow.
Exactly, man is the problem. We are very disruptive in all our actions, you know. But then that's it for that story. Now in East Africa, political tensions are now rising in Uganda following a dramatic overnight raid. The wife of opposition leader Bobi Wine has been hospitalized after soldiers allegedly raided their home in Kampala, searching for the politician who has gone into hiding following last week's disputed election. Barbara Kyagulanyi told reporters she was assaulted and held at gunpoint during the raid. Bobi Wine has accused security forces of targeting his family as part of a broader crackdown on opposition as President Yoweri Museveni extends his rule into a 7th term. How very interesting.
Post-election fallout is not even something that happens in Nigeria alone. It happens across.
And if you ask me, I think Nigeria has it a bit better, because imagine for a minute that Peter Obi's home was raided. Nigeria will erupt. Or imagine for a minute that Atiku's home was raided. And again, you know, sometimes when you listen to certain people and they make it look like Nigeria is in the worst state, I'm like, you don't read, do you? If you do read and see what's going on across Africa, I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm not saying it should continue. I'm saying that we are not in the worst situation. And absolutely things can get better, should get better. But our own no back pass. Yeah. This is brazen abuse of human rights. And I would say you have won. Leave it at that. If this indeed is a democratic government, leave it at that, and let's see how.
So now, is it to say that the security forces now, are they working for the opposition, or why should the security force now go and raid the house of the wife of the opposition leader?
Of course, it's coming from orders from above. There's the Museveni, who is 82 years old, and serving his 7th time in office. Emphasis on seventh time. Listen, Nigeria, I remember when it was alleged that our former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, was negotiating for a 3rd term bid. Remember how it was rife, the tensions were, everyone was against it. Oh, it cannot happen, not under our watch.
And here's someone on his 7th term.
Exactly. And he can never be Nigeria. He can never be Nigeria. Not at all. But this is, we are witnessing a very unfortunate human rights abuse right here, where we are seeing in our eyes opposition being attacked and pursued. There was an interview that was done by, I think, Sky News with Museveni some time ago, and he acted as if, oh no, he's not after Bobi Wine. It's only because Bobi Wine has been, he made it sound like he's some militant who has been causing the deficit of public peace. Of course, English can always cover everything, but that's quite unfortunate coming from Uganda right there. I'm hoping that it's settled and the wife recovers recover soon. But still in the region, Kenya is also facing political shockwaves after claims of an assassination attempt was reported. The former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, says his life was in danger after a violent incident at a church service in Nyeri, where tear gas and gunfire reportedly disrupted worship. Gachagua has accused President William Ruto of being behind the incident, though no evidence, of course, has been provided. Kenyan authorities say an investigation is underway as concerns grow over rising political tensions in the country. Another very sad one right there, and unfortunately coming from Kenya. Kenya has been a bit quiet. A lot of us have been seen after that. What was it called now? Gen Z protest. After the Gen Z protest,
there has been some calm.
There's been some.
But then, if you look at this region, I think there's something about this region that is being, I don't know how to put it, but maybe the word odds would suffice. Because if we have something like this happening in a church, I don't know what.
When people come in for worship.
When people come in for worship.
But it's been happening across not just African regions. We've recorded that as well. Mosque. You are coming from a place of it's sacred. It's a sacred place. Take your shenanigans. Take your shenanigans everywhere else, but not a place of worship. But we've recorded very gruesome assassinations, or rather murder, happen in places of worship. We have in Nigeria here, we've recorded in several mosques and several churches. And so this is but one of the many things that we face in Africa. But we also have similar things across the world. I mean, we are also reading stories from the US where there's a knife violence in the UK as well, in schools, where you would think a child will come and feel safe. Because, I mean, you're with your peers, but then your peer now has access to all sorts of weapons, and we get to be...
So let's hope that the investigation is being done quickly so we can get to know what the story is all about.
Yes, accusations and counter-accusations, they're coming from the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, right there. But let's turn to the northern part of Africa, where Libya has signed one of its biggest energy deals in years. The Libyan government has agreed to a 25-year oil development deal with France, Total Energies, and US-based ConocoPhillips, involving more than $20 billion in foreign investment. Officials have said that the deal could boost production to as much as 850,000 barrels per day and generate hundreds of billions of dollars in long-term revenues. The agreement is seen as a major step in reviving Libya's energy sector and attracting foreign investors. That's good.
Finally, some good news
from Libya. Yeah, some good news coming from Libya. ConocoPhillips and Total Energies. Well, let's see how it goes.
For 25 years, that's like a generation-long plan, and it's something to be proud of. Something to...
Is that to be proud of? I would say it's too far. It's too long. I would say because I mean, the investment, I can understand that these are huge investments that are going to be done.
We're talking about $20 billion.
We're talking $20 million. But I should think that there should be some sort of renewal that comes way less than 25 years. If you're unable, for instance, to take do proper environmental assessment and ensure that, like we have in Nigeria, host communities are not suffering the consequences of your exploration. Okay, good. You continue. If you are following the terms of the country to say you are employing local people, you are local content,
even coming quickly. And
exactly. So let's not. I know it's a huge investment. Nobody wants to do that kind of investment and then you renew in 5 years or whatever. Because are you asking me now to continue? You know, I get it, but there are some ways. Often when Africans do these deals with international corporations and IOCs, parties, that's international oil and gas companies, I am jittery. I would rather Libya is coming to terms with a Dangote, if you ask me, because than Total Energies.
Why do you say so?
Oh, because it is often very exploitative, and we would stand in one vein saying, oh, they have come to exploit us once again, and the next thing we are giving them open access to our refineries and resources. So I would say that I hope indeed this agreement works well, not just for these huge corporations, but it works well for the people of Libya and this.
But if it works, it could revive Libya's economy, and also it could even attract more investors. How
did Libya's economy get to where Libya's economy is today?
Well,
who funded the crisis that got Libya to where they are today? Again, that's a question for another day. But finally, in South Africa, a court ruling has cleared the way for the sale of iconic Nelson Mandela artifact. A court has dismissed an appeal by heritage authorities allowing Mandela's eldest daughter to sell and export personal items, including his Robben Island prison key, sunglasses, and one of his signature floral shirts. Well, the ruling has reignited debate over whether such historic items should remain in South Africa, while the family says the sale would support a memorial project. Critics argue that the artifact form part of the nation's shared heritage. When I saw this story, I saw the analysis of it in a South African news outlet, and I get where both parties are coming from. This is my father's property.
At the same time, it's also a national treasure.
This is my father's property. I should be able to do as it pleases me. But your father is not just anyone. He's a symbol, not just to South Africa, but to the entire continent. He's someone we are very proud of. I won't mind. I mean, I would say don't sell. I would say keep it.
Let's have
these artifacts there. Let it be
visible for generations to come.
Let it be something children several hundreds of years to come can go point at and say, this is the sunglasses at the time that Nelson Mandela used, and it forms some. And that's why when you go to several parts of the country, of the world rather, I mean, I visited America some time ago. These artifacts are cherished. You would not even think of selling it, But I get it too. It's my father. However iconic this artifact may be, it should be ours to sell. But I think the government should, by this time, if they were serious about tourism, if they were serious about preserving this artifact, certain product, or not product now, certain things should have a long time ago been taken from the family.
But either way, the Nelson Mandela's legacy will continue to be an headline. Either way, either they sell it or either they make it as a national treasure.
Absolutely. It's always going to be. But what I'm also saying is the government should have been serious enough to say, you know what, this, and this, we want it in a museum, we want it to be preserved for generations to come, but with these other ones you can sell. But I understand where both parties are coming from. However, a court in South Africa has made it open. You can sell your father's property if you like. The eldest daughter of the former president of South Africa and the icon named Mandela, Nelson Mandela. One day my name will ring like that.
One day.
What a wish. However, this is where we end this first segment of the show, Razep Media News Updates. But we're going for a short break. When we come back, like I told you, we will be discussing rethinking inclusive growth in Africa's informal and underserved communities. We have a Pan-Africanist that's going to be part of the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. the politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television. Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show.